Hello children, welcome back to the channel. Today I am going to explain a very important chapter from economics sector of the Indian economy. This chapter will help you understand how the economy is divided, how people are employed, and how the government works to create employment and reduce inequality. Let me see one by one. First, we are going to see about the different types of sector. Okay, so economic activities are classified into three sectors based on the nature of work involved. The first one is the primary sector. It is also called as agriculture sector. Why did we call this sector as an agriculture sector? Because here the main product is nothing but the natural resources. What and all we are getting the natural resources or natural product. By using that product we are doing the activities. Example, agriculture, fishing, forestry, mining. It is called as primary. Why it is called as primary? Because it forms the base for all other activities. The second sector is called as secondary sector. The secondary sector is nothing but it uses the base components of primary sector. By using the primary sector components as a base, that they used to convert into the another product. For example, wheat we are getting from the primary sector. Primary is nothing but from agriculture productivity. That wheat we are getting into we are transforming the same wheat into a wheat flour, right, in an industrial or in a particular place, which means that we need a more amount of space to manufacture something, some products. So for that we need some place which is called as, which might be a small factory or big factory or home. This is nothing but the industrial sector or secondary sector. Here the main activities that involve manufacturing are industrial production. It converts, as I said, raw materials into finished good. Example, sugar mill, textile factories and steel plants, so on. The last sector is called as tertiary sector. This sector is different from the primary and secondary because here there is no production. Here we are not going to see any production or any product will be produced, nothing like that. So here it is going to, this sector is going to support the primary sector and secondary sector by giving service to those sectors. This sector will help. So this is called service based activities or service sector. Okay, it support the other two sectors. For example, transportation, teaching, banking, healthcare, retail shop. In all these categories, we are not producing any new product at all. What already produced in the secondary sector or primary sector, that we are going to promote to the people. Clear about the types of sector? The next we are going to see about the comparing the three sectors. In comparing the three sectors, there are two ways. One is through the production we are going to compare, through the employment we are going to compare these three sectors. First let me take the by production. Through the production wise we are going to compare the three sector. In that what it was involved is nothing but GDP. What is the meaning of GDP? Gross Domestic Product. Okay, if we are buying anything including primary sector and secondary sector, we are giving the final money as a complement or as a price to the product, right? So in the GDP is nothing but it used to add the primary, secondary and tertiary sector. Okay, GDP is nothing but gross domestic product. The total value of goods and service in a country in a year is called as GDP. In early times the primary sector contributed the most to GDP because in the early period only one sector was there. That time there were no much industries, okay, no service sector. So because of that in the early period the primary sector contributed the most to GDP. But now tertiary sector has become the largest contributor to India's GDP, followed by secondary, then only the primary. So here they have given example that how they are calculating this GDP. For example, if we are buying a biscuit, we are giving 40 rupees or 30 rupees or more than that. We are not providing separate money for primary sector, separate money for secondary sector, separate money for tertiary sector. For the final good only we are paying the money, right? In that final price only, the final price includes both the sector. That's what they are saying by saying the example in the page number 22. Okay, then they are saying about the GDP. So in our country, GDP is maintained by the central government. There are separate agency to calculate that. Okay, this is about the through the production, how it was compared. Okay, now through the employment. Even today, the primary sector employs the most people, especially in rural India. But this sector produced less compared to the number of people working in it. This imbalance shows a major issue, underemployment or disguised unemployment. So for example, if you take that in the early period, as I already told you that in the early period there were no industries, there were no service sector like IT companies now how it is there. So same like that in the early period it was not there. So because of that, most of the people were completely dependent upon the agriculture for their economic activity. Then little industries came out. Many of the members, those who were working in the agriculture sector, they didn't find the work in the agriculture sector. They started to migrate to the industries. They got the shift based work they got, and they tried to improve their economical background of their family. And even once a tertiary sector entered, a tertiary sector implemented, most of the people got job in the tertiary sector. So we have seen that the GDP contribution is more in the tertiary sector, right? But the employment, if we see in the employment wise, if we see, tertiary sector is producing the very less number of employment. First we see that we come to know that only tertiary sector is contributing more amount of GDP when compared to the primary and secondary sector. Am I right? So let me see that what are the reason, what makes the tertiary sector to boom in the GDP or to give most contribution in the GDP. Let me see that reasons. Okay. So first one is that the tertiary sector has become a very important sector in recent years. Why means what were the reasons are? Basic service like healthcare, education, banking, transport are always needed. We are completely dependent upon all these services, right? So because of that might be one of the reason for the booming or for the GDP contribution by the tertiary sector. The second one is about the growth in the agriculture and industry increases demand for service like storage, communication and transport. Okay. The third one is that rising income levels mean people demand more services like shopping, tourism and private education. So as most of them are getting good salary, they are expecting some other relief features, which means that going for shopping or enjoying in trip. So this and all also makes the GDP contribution by the tertiary sector. The last one is that growth of IT and software industries has created many service jobs. So even though fewer people work in this sector, it generates the highest share of national income. If we see the next topic, where are most people employed? Although the tertiary sector produces the most, majority of Indians still work in the primary sector, especially in farming. But this leads us to a big problem which is called disguised unemployment. To explain this, what is meant by disguised unemployment, before we are going to see what is mean by that, here there is a story there is a lady who was called Lakshmi. So here Lakshmi was a rural worker. Her family of 5 works on a small farm that actually only needs 2 people to work over there. The remaining, even if 3 of them stop working also, the production does not going to stop or does not drop. This is called disguised unemployment. More people are working than required. Okay, only less number of people only needed to work, but more numbers are there. This kind of underemployment is common in agriculture and also in urban informal jobs also. What does it mean by informal jobs? We will come to see in the next concept. Okay, informal jobs means what? I will say very clearly later. So not only in the agriculture we are seeing in the rural area, even in the urban area also it is happening in some sector. Okay, then what is the next topic? How to create more employment. Okay, we come to know that many of the people are there in the primary sector, Most of them are not getting work in the tertiary sector. Their wages were very low and they are facing disguised unemployment. So how to create more employment? The government and the society can take several steps to create jobs. First one is that invest in irrigation, roads and infrastructure. Open more schools and health centers, creating teaching and medical jobs. Support small scale industries. Promote tourism, local craft and rural markets. Especially in rural area, we can implement, the government already implemented mgnrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. It was implemented in the year of 2005. It guarantees 100 days of wage employment in rural areas. Apart from that, if employment is not given, workers get an unemployment allowances also. It helps to reduce poverty, improve livelihoods and boost rural development also. Apart from this, to encourage the farmers can't able to invest on everything. For example, they need to buy the seed, fertilizer and agriculture equipment, pump sets, everything they need, right? So if the government is providing the loan for low rate of interest, it will also be beneficial for the farmers. These are some of the ways to create employment or some of the ways to solve the problem of the people, especially in the working area. Okay. The next topic is about the organized and unorganized sector. Economic activities can also be divided by how people are employed. Here also they have given the example for the organized sector, Kanta. She is working in an office. That office was registered by the government. As it was under the control of the government, they used to follow the rules and regulation, and they used to have the various laws that the particular organization used to follow. One is Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act and payment of gratuity. So workers used to get a regular salary in this office or in this organization as they have registered with the government. They used to have the job security also, and they used to have paid holidays, and even the medical benefits also used to be there. Suppose if they are working for overtime allowances also will be given to the employee. So all this beneficiary measures used to be enjoyed by the person who is under the organized sector. Example for this organized sector such as government jobs, MNC companies, banks, all this will come under the organized sector. The next thing is about the unorganized sector. Here they have given the example of Kamal. So here there is a person who is working in a small unit. Okay, so here there will not be no rules and regulation because it was not registered with the government. So workers used to have low wages. At any time the owner can able to send the employee without prior announcing. No paid holidays. If they come to the work, they will get salary. No medical, PF, gratuity, nothing will be there. Okay, if they work overtime also, they used to get somewhat less salary only in the unorganized sector. Okay, this is about the difference of organized and unorganized sector. Children, this organized and unorganized sector is very, very important. You want to write like differences. Okay. Example for unorganized sector is nothing but agriculture workers, domestic helpers, daily wage laborers. Okay, the next topic is about how to protect workers in the organized sector. Millions of people in India work in an unorganized condition. How to protect workers in the unorganized sector. That is the topic. Okay, most of the people in our India work in this sector only. So those people need protection and support. What are the measures we can take to protect them? First thing, government should ensure minimum wages are paid. The government should take care of the employee who is working in an unorganized sector, whether he is getting the proper salary or not. Okay, so the next thing is that provide healthcare, pension, accident insurance and maternity benefits at all. Encourage self-help group, rural cooperative and local job schemes. Focus more on weaker section like women, tribal group and landless laborer. Without protection, these workers remain poor, exploited and vulnerable. The last topic of this lesson is about the private sector and public sector. So first let we see economic sector also divided based on ownership and control, that is public sector and private sector. Let we see public sector. This sector owned and operated by the government. Focus is on only public welfare, not on profit. So the government is working for the welfare of the people, not based on the profit. The service provided even if they are not profitable. Okay. Examples: Indian Railways, BSNL, public schools, water supply, all this will come under public sector. The next one is that private sector. This sector owned by individuals or private companies. Their ultimate goal is to earn profit. Okay. Provide a service for those who can pay. Okay. Those who are paying, for them they will provide the service, or else they will not provide the service. That is the simple logic of the private sector. The examples are Reliance, Tata, Infosys, private hospitals and schools. Why is the public sector important? It provides essential services like education, healthcare, electricity, transport. Other than that, it reduces inequality by offering low-cost services to the poor. It creates jobs in areas where the private sector won't invest. Okay. Why is the private sector important? We have seen the importance of public sector. Why private sector is also an important? Because it brings innovation, efficiency and competition. It invests in large scale industries and exports. It supports growth through entrepreneurship and technology. One thing you want to understand: for every person it is not possible to use the private sector, right? So for that, definitely we need, or the common people used to expect the public sector, because as I already informed you that public sector offers only service, does not expect profit from the people. One more thing we need to understand here: there are some activities that the government need to support for us. Okay. So for example, for the poor people at all, it is not possible to buy everything in the departmental store, right? Through the PDS, did you remember that public distribution system we have read in the 9th grade? So through that only they are enjoying. Likewise, the government has to support for the many activities. That's it about this lesson. At the end of this lesson, I have attached the most possible questions that you can